Hello, my name is Raymond Darchevsky. I am a living Christ. I should like to speak to you about the subject of Christ consciousness, for it is not understood by the average man or woman who has been conditioned by public education or education per se to use the intellect to navigate through life. That's the step into hell that all take unknowingly, as the intellect is a very narrow realm of consciousness, a small aspect of consciousness, a linear, time-bound, memory-based region of human consciousness that people are trapped into. In that realm, civilized people live by belief. Now, belief is an illusion, a satanic illusion, a concept, an idea that is fragmented, and it represents the holistic truth that unfolds in the eternal moment of now. However, it is grasped by a barrier, a limited filter of intellect that relegates it to a time-bound region of memory-based ideas and concepts that one is conditioned into by people that they trust. A newborn is soon conditioned to accept the beliefs of their parents, who have been conditioned by their parents, all the way down to the beginning of the family. And so all such men and women are limited in intelligence. They believe they're intelligent, and they're intelligent, but in actuality, they are quite limited. They are quite ignorant. They are unaware of what lies beyond that limitation of intelligence that they hold as their reality. And thus, they live a habitual, repetitive life based on the concepts that seem to serve them in their limited capacity. Now, the simple man of truth, or woman of truth, is beyond that. They are an outsider to the intellect. They use the intellect, but the intellect is not their master. The intellect does not use them. They use the intellect. They are the master of their own mind. That's what a Christ is, a man or woman of Christ consciousness. They are simple in nature, open, holistic in their views and their actions that are in consistency with such truth. Primitive men and women are closer to God. God being not some old man with a flowing beard operating in the clouds, as such beliefs and superstitions that are imposed upon civilized men and women believe him to be, but it's an intelligent, formless intelligence, vastly beyond the time-bound limitations of the intellect. It operates without beginning or end, thus it is timeless, and it is holistic in its energy. That is, the energy of infinite intelligence is non-dualistic in nature, whereas all thought based on the intellect is dualistic, that it is divided and based on opposition. Therefore, it creates confusion in the mind, confusion in the consciousness, of those who are trapped in their intellect. Thus they are in confusion throughout life, and they must resolve that confusion, that conditioned confusion that they have accepted as their state of consciousness, and they cannot act until they resolve, they make a decision, they decide, then they act. That's the nature of civilized world that we live in. It is satanically ruled. We have lost our direct sight of truth, of what is, by creating the reflection of that holistic essence. And the reflection becomes the graven images that we hold as that which is indefinable until we are able to create a word for it, an idea, and thus define its abilities, its content, its capacity. So that world is our civilized world. It's a matrix of satanic mind control. And all men who consent to live in that world are thus hellbound. They are the creators through their own confusion projected outwardly and experienced in all their relationships. They are the creators of war. They are the creators of exploitation of their fellow man. And they are the victims also. They all take their place in this matrix of hell. Various positions of power and victimization according to their own personal energy. And they go throughout life bounded by that limitation, uncertain, unsure of themselves. They doubt themselves. They doubt what they see. They doubt what they believe. And thus they are in constant confusion and conflict throughout their life. And that is the nature of civilized man. It's inarguable. One only has to look at the news media, which reports incidents of such confusion occurring somewhere in this world and repeating it 1,000-fold. And to anyone who reads the account of that confusion, accepts that confusion as being the truth, their truth, and thus they remain in confusion themselves, unable to understand how to end it all, how to stop the confusion and become clear. To be clear is to be at one with truth, the non-dualistic energy, the holistic energy, the holy energy, the wholesomeness of being at one with what is. Now that state of at-one-ment is a state of prayer with the infinite intelligence you call God. It is not some verbal practiced experience that becomes firmer and firmer entrenched with each time it's repeated. That is what traps most people into being a habitual representation of a robotic life. They are predictable in their behavior. If they are not predictable, they are seen to be outside the realm of control, of satanic control by its leadership that maintains its control over the mass mind through such impositions of concepts which, if not accepted and repeated, the individual is punished. That's what's called man's law. There's only one law. It's the law of truth, the law of God. Do no harm. When you transcend the dualistic intellect, you find that there is no other than you, and you are it. You are at one with it. All is one. God is one. Truth is one. You see, that state of consciousness, which is truth itself, as manifested in the subconscious mind of the human species, is the essence of God. However, such civilized human beings consent to give jurisdiction to the intellectual mind, the limited mind, the dualistic mind, which promises that they are gods in their own right. That is an illusion, you see. And when you give strength to that illusion, it grows. And the truth, the indefinable truth, the unbounded truth, remains to be merely beyond the grasp of such limited, ignorant intellect. Now that has been the message that I, this living Christ, this man who possesses Christ consciousness, who has transcended the intellect, has risen above the limitations of such instrument of consciousness, has brought to the world via the intellect in his lifetime. Or I should say the last 20 years, using the intellect, using the internet itself in exposing what the intellect really is, not what it is thought to be, for such thought is merely another belief. And it misleads all who rely upon such limited thought, and causes the conflict of confusion which arises between intellectuals who cannot transcend the barrier that exists between them. To find peace on earth, to have peace on earth, one must live non-dualistically, that is, live in truth, be truth. To transcend thought is to rise from the fires of hell, the pain of confusion. But you see, the pridefulness of a conditioned ego cannot stand to be exposed, and it will rail in anger and frustration to condemn the information that they cannot grasp, they cannot accept, because by doing so, they would have to act, they would have to change their lives. And that is the last thing that civilized man and woman want to do. They want security. They want someone else to protect them, to make their decisions for them, to provide sustenance for them. Such need, such desire, such unholy satanic desire makes for organizations like government and religion, who sustain both the body and the idea of soul. That is the fall from grace. That is when man begins to doubt himself and gives the power over his life to satanic elitists, those who hold power through mind control over lesser intellects and promise them protection, security, when they deliver just the opposite. Man does not declare war, governments do. Man is simply a receptacle of consciousness, and the level of energized consciousness dictates the quality of his life. So man is free to be truth, to live truth, to act in truth, to be at one with all which is truth. Or he can give up his life to Satan, the arbiter of conditioned limitation. When he does that, he becomes a slave to hell and doesn't understand how he got there and what he can do about it. And the ego, the conditioned ego, the unhealthy ego, makes up prideful defenses to attack anything that threatens its existence. Now, ego is necessary to transcend the levels of consciousness from the subconscious to the conscious mind. But the healthy ego is merely that pivotal point where the unseen, the unformed, the energy, the holistic energy begins to take shape. The taking of shape is the ego, the healthy ego in operation. And when it manifests in consciousness, in the consciousness of truth, it operates only in the eternal moment of now. And then it disappears, gone forever. It is not remembered. You have acted, and that action has dictated the direction of the next moment and the next moment. That's what life is, just eternal moments which manifest, but not in an organized fashion. The satanic world is the organization of such moments, and thus it creates a linear stream of time-bound consciousness, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, the past, the present, and the future. And that creates the matrix of satanic rule, which dictates the consciousness of all civilized men, regardless of what God they believe in. That must be broken. You do that by silencing the mind, by being quiet and watching. When the intellect stops its eternal chattering, there's only what is. That is the moment of truth manifested. You can't hold on to it, because the moment is that which is, and then there comes the next moment. That's not a concept, it's a reality. To live in that eternal moment of now is to live your life in Christ consciousness. Surely you must use the intellect in order to communicate with other intellects who are trapped. There's no question about that. Or to use the intellect for technical problem solving, you see. What Satan does is it transfers consciousness from the truthful what is into the technical what is not, the illusion, the dead mechanical moment of ideas that can be manipulated and memorized and strategized. But you see, that temporary position of understanding, it's not understanding, it's belief. You see, you must come to understand the nature of belief and the nature of understanding. When you understand, you stand under the whole of what is, which manifested in that moment. You are at one with truth. There are no recriminations to that. Recriminations, deceptions, doubts, they all exist only in the intellect and nowhere else in consciousness. So you see, for the last 20 years, I have been attempting to lay before you the truth. It has been rejected. It can't be explained, you see. Truth can't be explained. It is what is. But the idea of truth is explainable. And that's what traps civilized men and women. That's where the people have power over you. People like lawyers and judges and experts of all kind, all of which are unbalanced human beings. But they tout the power of being unbalanced to others who are lesser equipped to deal with a deceptive world. But a simple man of truth, a Christ, can only be and speak that which is, that which he is aligned with. It is the nature of I am that I am. One must get beyond the words to see what is, you see. And it's difficult because people want to be secure. They have been trained to doubt themselves, to be insecure, and to want others to do things for them that they can only do for themselves. So the impossible task for any Christ is to bring that truth to people who don't want truth, who want the idea of truth, so that they could manipulate it. That's the nature of hell. Now we here in America are facing a spiritual conflagration that will destroy a great number of people through the process of a civil war erupting here in America, through martial law, through holding on to man's law, which is satanic, you see. They don't understand. That's all they know, is satanic law, man's law, where if they step out of line, they are punished and jailed. They are robbed of their resources through intimidation, to paying taxes, theft. You see, they don't realize that they are the producers of wealth, but they give it away because they live in fear and pain of misfortune, of power-seeking individuals that feed off their labor. A Christ, the simple man of truth, knows, understands that it is all an illusion. He has no fear of government. He realizes it's a satanic illusion, and thus when confronted by such illusion, he stands firm in truth and do no harm. If one does no harm to anyone or to anyone's property, he has no need for man's law, thus he is protected. And all the illusions that go along with man's law are impotent to intimidate him, to threaten him, for he knows that he is not his body, he is not his mind, he is an ethereal energy of infinite intelligence at one with God, eternal in nature, and thus transcends the time-bound limitations of a life, singular lifetime. That's the power that each of you have within yourselves. And all you have to do is reclaim it. It hasn't gone away, it will never go away. But it is clouded by all of the satanic conditioned beliefs that you hold, which hide its magnificence from you. I'm here to tell you that this scares the hell out of most of you, because you're comfortable in your ignorance, in your trained stupidity, and you fear being an outsider, because you will lose contact with all others who feel the same as you, rife with doubt, self-doubt. And so they organize themselves according to their own state of limited intelligence. If that's what you want, so be it. It doesn't have to be. And I'm here to tell you that is the simple truth of God, of God's will, your ability to stand up to illusion and to dissolve it, to expose it. If this rings true with you, and it ought to, you may seek more information from my websites, arkenterprises.com and lisarayenterprises.com on the internet. You will see the actual experiences of this living Christ's ability to stand down the satanic courts of Oregon, the law enforcement agencies, going on to the state level, going on to the federal level, where they have attempted to imprison me through phony satanic convictions based in the intellect. That this living Christ holistically stood before them and dissolved the illusion, where although the image, naturistic person conjured up by government, bearing similarity to my birth name, was convicted. Yet, instead of throwing me into prison for 35 years as the convictions demanded, they threw me out of jail with no charges over my head. Of course, 55-day combined hunger strike of 33 days of one and 22 days of another, which led me near the brink of death in the jail, Josephine County Jail, added to the fact that when I came up for sentencing, I refused to accept their sentencing. I just stood up and refused to accept their ability to sentence me to prison because they had not proven jurisdiction over this living, breathing, flesh and blood, sentient natural man. That's the message I've been trying to bring to you, that what I have done, so can you, for you are all beyond the jurisdiction of the fictional courts, because you are living beings. The court is an illusion, a fiction, an idea, created by living men who sell their souls for the security of power. You want to live in that world? By all means, live in it. You want out? Contact my websites. Read the history of this living Christ and his experiences with man's law and see how it's done. It's up to you how you want to live. Live in peace? You want to live in heaven on earth? Or do you want to maintain your status of power in a hell on earth? Again, it is up to you. Thank you for your time.